Soledad or other journalists not calling it like it is, covering Trump like the unique candidate that he is?
I think it's more the contortions to try to make things seem equal all the time. So if you look at Hillary Clinton's speech, where she basically pointed out that what Donald Trump has done actually quite well is normalize white supremacy, one of a long list of things that I think many Americans would find distasteful.
And you would say that's true. The Clinton is right when she says that.
I think she made a very good argument, almost like a lawyer. Here is ways in which he has actually worked to normalize conversations that many people find hateful. And that listen, I've seen on air white supremacists being interviewed because they are Trump delegates, and they do a 5-minute segment, the first minute or so, talking about what they believe is white supremacists, right? So you have normalized that. Then Donald Trump will say, well, Hillary Clinton, she's a bigot. And it's covered. Journalist part comes in. They trade barbs. He says she's a bigot, and she points out that he might be appealing to racists.
He said, she said, he said, she said.
It only becomes he said, she said. When in actuality, the fact that Donald Trump has said she's a bigot, without the long laundry list of evidence, which if you looked at Hillary Clinton's speech, she actually did have a lot of really good factual evidence that we would all agree are things that have happened and do exist. They're treated as if they're equal. Well, she might be a bigot. He might have ties to racists. They're actually equal, when in reality they're not equal. And I think that's where journalists are failing in the contortions to try to make it seem fair.
But so that may be the default, but I've seen a lot of good examples of the press, I think, doing its job of calling him out and telling it like it is. You know, whether it's you on this show saying there's no basis for him to claim the election's going to be stolen, or the New York Times saying in the front page lead story, Trump presents a threat to the rule of law and the Constitution. Not on the editorial page, but as a news story, because that's fact, not opinion.
So that's a more optimistic take.
Do I have a question, or do I have a hard time saying to somebody, that's just not true? No, I probably am overeager to do that. I actually think it's one of the most interesting and compelling things about being a journalist and being able to interview people, is when you find politicians who seem notoriously challenged with the truth often, to be able to say that's literally not true, and here's how it's not true. I think that's great. It's a great moment, and we should do more of it. I think if there's any lesson to be learned, it's, wow, so over-the-top, hateful speech brings a really interested, angry audience. This is genius. We should do this more often. What shall we do when this election is over? We're going to have to think about ways to really rile people up, make them angry, and divide them, because that is something that I think cable news, frankly, and everybody can cover really well. So I find it very frustrating. I believe he was overcovered at the beginning, but now it is he said, she said all the time. We have lost context. We actually often don't even cover the details of something. We just cover the back and forth of it. It's funny to watch if it weren't our own country and our own government actually operating.
You're talking about hateful speech. That makes me wonder if it's just as compelling on TV to watch people fight back against hateful speech. If you believe what Trump is saying is hateful, is it just as compelling to watch people argue against it?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know that you see people argue against it all the time. I think when you see, I think it's very compelling to see video of people beating up protesters. Absolutely, yeah. I think that has been. I think the quality and the level of discourse has dropped so far. It saddens me to see, and I don't think we're going to have this reckoning that happens after the election. I think it has made a lot of money. It has done well ratings.